gentlemen, please stand with me and welcome Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger!
But anyway, sit down and relax. And I want to say thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. It's exactly the way I wrote it. Worked out well. Anyway, so I was asked to come here today to do a speech. Of course, you know, I go around the world and give speeches on different subjects. So I had no idea what they wanted me to talk about here, what the audience wanted me to talk about. So I told the promoter, I said, do a kind of a low-key, secret kind of a poll, just to find out what the people want me to talk about. And that poll was all over the place. It was wild. I mean, 40% of the people wanted me to talk about bodybuilding. 50% of the people wanted me to talk about show business and politics. And 10% of the people just wanted their money back from one of my movies, Hercules in New York. So this is kind of like the way it went all over the place. But you know, seriously, I'm here today, they asked me to talk about success and about the rules to be successful. And I said I'm more than happy to do that. And they asked me to talk exactly here for 25 minutes. And then they wanted me to sit down over here with an interviewer and answer questions for 20 minutes. And then they wanted me to answer questions from you for 5 minutes. So they're very strict with their rules here. I don't know who makes up the rules, don't ask me, but the bottom line is that you know what's going to go on. But let me just tell you, I get asked all the time, I mean for endless amount of years and decades, what is the secret to success? And I always tell people, I said, look, it's very easy. First, you have to have a 22-inch bicep. Then you have to be able to wrestle predators with your bare hands. Then you have to be able to travel back in time to save humanity. And then, of course, you have to have the Austrian accent. So those are kind of, but those are the shortcuts. So there's a middle, but it's much more complicated than that. But people always do ask me what is the keys to success. And I always tell people it really depends what the definition of success is. It just happens to be that I always was shooting for the stars. To me, success was when I was a kid. I wanted to go and be rich. I wanted to be famous. I wanted to do extraordinary things. I wanted to be a world champion in something. And I wanted to get to America. So this was kind of the overall course. I didn't quite know what it is. And one thing I knew for sure, that was when I grew up in Austria, I was born 2 years after the Second World War. It was a very depressing place. I mean, there was famine, starvation. It was tough. We were occupied with the Russians, with the Americans, with the French, with the British. And everyone was miserable because, you know, they all felt like losers. They lost the war. And so it was really not a fun time in the beginning to grow up in Austria. I wanted to get out of there. It was the wrong place for me. So I was very lucky that one day in school I saw a documentary, a black and white documentary about America. And that kind of opened up my eyes. I saw the Golden Gate Bridge, I saw the Empire State Building, I saw huge skyscrapers and huge freeways, 6-lane highways and freeways. I saw huge cars, I saw Hollywood. I saw all of this and said to myself, that's where I belong, that's where I need to go. And now it was, of course, just a matter of time for me, how do you get to America? And then for some fluke, I go and I see, when I'm on the way to school, I see a magazine store, and there was a bodybuilding magazine that had Reg Park on the cover, standing like this. like Hercules with the Hercules outfit on, and it said on top, Mr. Universe becomes Hercules. I looked at this magazine and I just couldn't believe his body. So I bought the magazine. And I read this magazine from the front cover to the back when I went home. And I was so fascinated how this man from Leeds, England, from a factory town, could through 5 hours of training every day become one of the strongest men in Europe and win Mr. Great Britain and win Mr. Universe and win it a second time. And then they discovered in Rome to do Hercules movies. So I said, this is exactly what I want to do. So I had in front of me the blueprint. Become Mr. Universe, and then go and do movies. So now it came to work. Of course, that became now my vision. I was obsessed. I read this magazine over and over and over again, and I started following Reg Park's training routine. I started training as a weightlifter, I trained as a powerlifter, I trained bodybuilding, I was doing my reps, and I was going from 2 hours of training a day to 3 hours of training. My mother got concerned that I was training too much, that I was killing myself in all this training, but I was training and training and training. Now, of course, you have to imagine now your parents are totally up in arms about this whole thing because they see a totally different life for you. I mean, my parents wanted me to have a regular life. But I didn't want a regular life. I didn't want to be a factory worker. I didn't want to be a farmer. I didn't want to be a police officer like my father was. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to get America. I wanted to be a world champion in bodybuilding and get into the movies. You know, my mother wanted me just to marry a girl by the name of Heidi. And have 5 kids and run around like the Von Trapp family in The Sound of Music. But that's not what my life was all about, what my vision was. I had a very, very clear vision now because of this Reg Park, that I wanted to become the greatest bodybuilder. And I wanted to get into movies. And I wanted to come to America. And so I started training. And training and training. And I tell you one thing, that when you have a clear vision like that, it becomes so much fun to go towards that vision, no matter how much work it takes. It didn't matter if I had to work out 5 hours a day. Nothing mattered. And even when you look at the movie Pumping Iron, people ask me all the time, I said, in Pumping Iron, when you look, you always look happy. And the other bodybuilders kind of had a sour face. Why is that? And I said, because they trained without a goal. And when you have no goal, I mean, life becomes miserable because it becomes a chore. Every day is a tough to go to work, and you don't know why you're going to work or why you train. But when you have a goal, I mean, it's just the statistics, when you look in America, 74% of the people hate their job. Imagine to wake up and that you hate your job for years after years after years. I never felt like that, ever. Because I always had a very clear vision. So for me, I couldn't wait to go to the gym and to work out. I couldn't wait to do another 500 reps sit-ups. I couldn't wait to do another 500-pound squat. I couldn't wait to do more bench press. I couldn't wait to do more chin-ups. I couldn't wait to get to the gym again and again and again, because every single time it was one step closer to my goal, to turn my vision into reality. And it is like when you can have the best airplane in the world. You can have the best ship in the world, but if the captain, the pilot, doesn't know where to go, what do you think that this ship is going to end up? Probably nowhere, or at the wrong place. And the same is with life. It's exactly the same. You got to know exactly where you go and have a very clear vision. And because I knew that it was so much fun to train, and my plan worked, with the age of 20, I became the youngest Mr. Universe ever. In London. I remember I was in London, I couldn't believe it. I was standing on that stage in this huge auditorium, exactly the same place where Reg Park won his Mr. Universe contest. And exactly the same trophy I got, that he got. I mean, it was like amazing to see your vision become a reality right in front of you. And then a year later, I won the Mr. Universe contest again and again and again. So it was like, really, it taught me that when you have a vision, it becomes a joyride, and you can accomplish your goal at the same time without having to kind of always worry or anything like that. So this is why I always say to people when they say to me, what should I do? I say, you got to find your passion, you got to have a very clear vision and a very clear goal. A short-term goal and then a long-term goal. And this is no different than with movies. I remember that when I did the movie Conan the Barbarian. Conan the Barbarian, I remember I was doing a scene with James Earl Jones, who played Thor Doom, who played the evil guy that killed Conan's parents. And I was crawling on all four with my sword in hand. And of course, I had the clothes on, just a little thing there around the waist. And so my knees and my elbows were exposed to the rocks that I was crawling on. And after 10 takes, of course, my knees and my elbows were bleeding. And the director said to me, kind of, in a very kind of shy way, Arnold, would you mind to do another take? Because I need a close-up of you coming towards us with the sword in front. He says, can you do another take? And I said, I do another 10 takes, another 20 takes, it makes no difference. He says, yeah, but you're bleeding. And I said, it doesn't matter. Pain is temporary, but the movie will be permanent. Because I saw very clearly in front of me the scene when it is finished. I mean, it was one of those great scenes where I'm crawling up behind Thor Doom, the guy that killed my parents, and then rise up from behind with the sword and cut his head off. That was the scene. So the entire time when I was crawling there and I was hurting, obviously, that's what I saw in front of me, was the finished scene. And because of that, it didn't matter how many times I do it, I did it because we wanted to get it perfect. So this is exactly what it's all about. This is that I had that vision, rising up, cutting his head off, taking his head and holding it in front of all his followers. And it's exactly what was in the movie, exactly that scene. Again, something that you envision becomes a reality. So vision is extremely important. So now there's the second rule. Let me get to the second rule, and that is, don't listen to the naysayers. The interesting thing is every time you have a great vision about yourself or about a great goal that you want to accomplish, if it is really way out there, what is the first thing that people are going to tell you? Oh, come on. That's impossible. No, can't be done. But I learned very quickly to erase those words from your vocabulary. There is no, and there is no it can't be done, and it's impossible. Anything is possible. I believe very strongly of what Nelson Mandela said, that everything is impossible always until someone does it. So I did not know Nelson Mandela's quote then, when I was struggling and when I was doing all those things, but I felt exactly the same way. Whenever someone said it's impossible, no one has done that, I said to myself, well, then I will be the first one. When they told me in Austria that you cannot come to America, no one is going to wait for you over there, you have no money, and you will leave your family behind, your friends and all that stuff. It's impossible, don't do it. I didn't listen to them. When they said it's impossible to become a world champion in bodybuilding, as an Austrian, yes, you can become a champion in skiing or bicycle riding or something like that, but not in bodybuilding. They said the Americans are dominating that field. I didn't listen to them. And when they said the same thing, again, when I was going to go into the movies, imagine, here's an Austrian farm boy that has become Mr. Universe several times, Mr. Olympia 7 times, 13 World Bodybuilding Championships, and now I go to the executives, to the studio executives, and to agents, and to managers in Hollywood. And they say, I'm going to retire from bodybuilding They said, okay, what do you want to do next? And I would say, I want to be a leading man in the movies. They immediately started laughing. In my mind, I looked at them, I looked friendly, because that's what you have to do in Hollywood and everywhere else, and politics and everything, you just smile. But inside your own mind, you say to yourself, asshole, wait a few years. They literally said to me, they said, Arnold, we like you. I think it's a great career, the bodybuilding career, but look at you. You weigh 250 pounds. It's impossible today to become a leading man today at 250 pounds. Hercules movies were done 20 years ago. This is not in anymore, this is the 70s. This is the 70s, Arnold. He says, you know who the new heroes are in the 70s? Not big muscular guys, it's little guys. Like Dustin Hoffman, Al Pacino, Woody Allen. Those are the sex symbols. This is a different world. So you don't fit in there. So forget that whole thing about that you want to be a leading man. And plus, I mean, let's be honest, your accent. Your accent, yes, we can get you movie parts. We can get you maybe on Hogan's Heroes. It's a movie about Nazis where you can play a Nazi officer, then your accent will be perfect. But I can tell you there's no way that the starring role is anywhere because Americans don't even like accents. They like everyone to sound like John Wayne. No one ever in the history, Arnold, has ever become a leading man or a star in America. They come from another country that has an accent. Doesn't happen. And then your name. So they found an excuse on everything. He said, your name, look at this on the poster, can you imagine Schwarzen Schnitzel or something like that? What the hell are you talking about? He says, so anyway, so this is the kind of dialogue that I heard. But then when we did Conan the Barbarian, John Milius, the director of the movie, right after the movie was over and we started promoting it, he told the press, if we wouldn't have had Arnold, we would have had to build one. Because before me, there was no one that had a body like that that could play Conan like that. So all of a sudden, my body became an asset rather than a liability. And then Jim Cameron, after that, when we did Terminator, said, I don't think it ever would have worked, the Terminator movie, if Arnold would have kind of sounded like a machine anyway. I don't know if this was a compliment or what, but the bottom line is, all of a sudden my accent was pointed out that it was good that he talked with a German accent because that really worked. It made him sound different and therefore it was more believable as the Terminator. Not that the body didn't count also, but the bottom line is, here he mentioned the accent. So, and then of course later on it became very popular to keep your name and not to change your name. Because people thought that if you have a difficult name to pronounce, and then the people learn it, it will be very hard to forget. So there you have it. So all of those three things that they said no, no, no to, all became assets, rather than a liability. So I didn't listen to the naysayers. And you can imagine now when you go and you make movies like Terminator and Conan, and you swear in the movies, and you kill people in the movies, and you're a cigar-smoking guy that doesn't play by the rules, wears cowboy boots with alligator skins and stuff like that. And now I say I want to run for governor. So you can imagine how many people come to me and says, Arnold, it won't work. Your lifestyle doesn't work. Your smoking cigars doesn't work. Being a Republican in California doesn't work. None of this works. And plus, this is like, you got to start little, as a mayor maybe, or as an assemblyman or something like that. I said, but this is not my vision. I have absolutely no vision of being an assemblyman or being a mayor. I have a vision, a very clear vision of becoming governor of the great state of California. They said, well, Or I can tell you, I don't think it's going to work. And no, I heard the same kind of excuses. And then the bottom line was, 2 months later after I announced, I was governor of the state of California. You see what I'm saying? So this is why I say it's so important to go and not listen to the naysayers. I never ever listen to naysayers. Yes, you can look for advice, you can listen to advice, but don't listen to naysayers, because there will be plenty of times that people say it's impossible. You could get up tomorrow morning and you say, you know, I'm going to go lose 30 pounds. People say, 30 pounds? How are you going to lose 30 pounds if they had the same body weight the whole time? Well, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. I said, that's impossible. That's what you hear. You will never hear, oh yeah, this is definitely possible. You never hear that. So this is the problem. So this is why I say, don't pay any attention to that. So that's rule number 2. Rule number 3, work your ass off. There's nothing that is better than working hard. Don't look for shortcuts. It won't happen. People always look for shortcuts and for ways out, but I can tell you firsthand that when I look back at my life, I always say that one of the things that made me successful was that I never ever was afraid to work. When I came to America, I trained 5 hours a day. And I went 2 hours a day to college, to community college, to learn some English. And the grammar and the spelling and stuff like that. I had to get my act together because I barely spoke English. Not that my English is perfect today, but I mean, it's getting there. But the bottom line is, I studied, I trained 5 hours a day, and because then there was no money in bodybuilding, so I had to go and work in construction. So my friend Franco Colombo and I, we started a construction company. And we were very fortunate that the earthquake happened in California and a lot of people needed their chimneys rebuilt. So we had a lot of work. And we made money, but we worked hours and hours and hours every day. And like I said, I went to school and we worked out 5 hours a day. And then later on, we added the acting because I wanted to get into show business, so I wanted to take acting classes. So we had 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I went to acting classes from 8 o'clock at night to 12 midnight. So think about that. Working, going to school, training 5 hours a day, going to acting class, all that. It's work. That's what you need to do. And when I went into show business, I did exactly the same thing. I didn't shy away from work. I knew that I had to do the same thing to get into acting as I've done in bodybuilding, which was 5 hours a day of work. So I took acting classes and speech classes, action removal classes, dialogue classes, all of this stuff, over and over. It was work, working my ass off. And so the end of the day has 24 hours. People always, it kind of drives me crazy when people say, I don't have enough time to work out. What are we talking about? You don't have enough time to work out. If you just say, I don't like working out, that's one thing. But if you say, I don't have enough time to work out, it sounds to me bogus because I have done it. I mean, the day is 24 hours. We sleep 6 hours, so there's still 18 hours left. I know there's someone that is, I like that when you go like this. I know that means that you're sleeping longer than 6 hours, right? Okay, if you need to get 8 hours, then just sleep faster. That's what you need to do. But that's all we need is 6 hours. So you sleep 6 hours, you have 18 hours left. The average person works around 10 hours, so we still have 8 hours left. Then you drive to work maybe and back, like in California, that takes an hour there and an hour back, so there's 2 hours less. So now I have 6 hours left. Now you go for dinner and have a good time. So now there's still 4 hours left. So what do you do with these 4 hours? I mean, let's be honest, there is enough time that you improve your body every day. There's plenty of time. Do the math. And I'm not just talking about the body now, because I'm really talking about just improving yourself. Because so many people come out of college and everyone says this is when they're the smartest. But there's no reason for that, because you can improve and get smarter all the time. I mean, imagine just that you go every day, you say to yourself, from now on, every day I'm going to study for 1 hour history. Because that happens to be your love and you really want to get into it. Imagine after 365 hours, after 1 year, how smart you are in history. And then the next year you go and say, I'm going to study a little bit about the history of music, classical music. No matter which party you go to, which dinner you go to, you're going to go to dance circles around people with all the names that you can drop and the years that you mention when they were born and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it makes you look like a genius. Or if you want to just improve your business and you spend an hour a day figuring out and working on your business to improve your business. But when people say, I don't have the time, I think you're shortchanging yourself. Because the fact of the matter is you do have the time. So, there's no replacement for working your ass off. I believe of what Ted Turner said. You know, early to bed, early to rise, work like hell and never dies. That's it. That is exactly what you have to do. It's always about work, work, work. So just remember, don't look for the shortcuts. Work your ass off. Just say this is what life is about. If I want to be successful, if I want to get smarter, then I have to make an effort and I have to get in there and just do it. Just do it. And now the fourth rule is, because now we're running out of time with the minutes, but we're going to go over a little bit the fourth one because that's an important one to me, and that is to give something back. You can never call yourself successful if you don't give something back. And I'm talking about now giving something back in your community, your local school, your state, whatever it is, your country. I always felt that because, you see, I came to America and I was received with open arms in America. So I was given the opportunity that everything that I accomplished in my life is because of America. So I know what kind of an unbelievable value that is. I wouldn't be here talking to you today if I wouldn't have come to America. I wouldn't have been successful in any of those things if I wouldn't have come to America. So it was clear to me that I have to give something back. I said, what made this country successful is because there were people that were working, that were giving their lives. People were dying for America. People were working the butt off for America. I said, this is how I now today have the opportunity there. So now I have to do my share too to make America and to keep America great. So I tried to figure out anything that I could. What could I do as a bodybuilder to give something back? And then luckily I fell into this whole thing with Special Olympics because I was asked by the University of Wisconsin to come up there and to do a research clinic on what effect bodybuilding and weight training has on Special Olympians and people that are intellectually challenged. And I went up there and I did this work. And I can tell you something that I was there for 3 days, and every night when I went to bed, I was so happy with the work we did, training the Special Olympians, pumping them up, making them do 20 reps with the bench press and the squats and helping them with the deadlift and the girls notice. Then I went home and I said, why am I so happy? I said, I make no money. It's not a career mover for me. It's nothing, it doesn't do anything. But it did something for my heart. I felt good that I was able to reach out and use my talent to help other people. And so eventually we started the powerlifting and weightlifting in the Special Olympics, and eventually I became the national trainer, and then I became the international coach for Special Olympians. I traveled all over the world promoting Special Olympics and promoting powerlifting. And it made me feel so good that I then started looking for other ways of using my talent. And so then when President Bush was elected in in 1988. I'm getting confused with all the years. I've been around for so long. But in 1988, when he was elected president, I said to him, I said, look, if you really want to rebuild the President's Council on physical fitness and sports, I am the one to do it for you. I have a very clear vision of what it should be and how we can go around to all 50 states and promote physical fitness for the children and to make sure that we promote the idea to hire more physical education teachers in the public schools. And he said, well, come in and tell us all about it. I went to visit him in the White House, told him about my vision, and they said, you're in. Then became the chairman of the President's Council of Physical Fitness and traveled, as I promised, through all 50 states in the United States and had fitness seminars and health seminars and talked about the health and fitness about our children because I could see the trend. And now we're really in a real disastrous situation with our kids. Because our kids are overweight, they're out of shape, they're not getting enough physical activities, and all of that stuff. And that's all that coming way back then. So I went around to all the different states and promoted that. And it made me feel good that while I was doing the Terminator movie, while I was doing Predator, while I was doing all those other movies, Twins and Kindergarten Cop and True Lies and whatever else, I was out there doing something that was not just for me, but it was something for somebody else, for the children, which is our future of this country. All I can tell you is that one thing led to the next. And as time went on, by the time came 2000, something else was boiling in me and said, I got to do more. I got addicted to the idea of giving back and doing something for my country. And all of a sudden, they were talking about a recall election in California. But they were not happy with the current governor and they wanted to recall him and put someone else in place. And I said, well, excuse me, right? I said, I have a very clear vision for California. I know exactly what needs to be done. And like I said, I announced my candidacy, and 2 months later I was governor of the state of California. It was a wonderful, I tell you something, the experience of running for governor was fantastic. Then being 7 years in that job, 7 years, it was the most rewarding, the most satisfying, the most unbelievable and educational kind of a job that I've ever had. And every day I was learning on the job. It was the most unbelievable thing that ever happened in my life. So you can imagine now when I sit back and I say to myself, wow, what a life. I mean, think about that. I mean, here you come from Austria as a 15-year-old boy and then have a dream. And then you accomplish all of those things and become the governor also of the greatest state in America. Think about this for a second, that California is the 5th largest economy in the world, right behind the United States, China, Germany, and Japan. We're the 5th largest economy in the world. So to become governor of that, it's not just being governor of any state. I mean, it's already great to be governor of any state, obviously, but of California, I mean, this is a monster state. It's like a nation state. So that was really fantastic. And so I just, feel so good about my life. I would never, ever had the feeling that I wanted to switch with anyone else. There's no one that I would switch with. I think that I have the most unbelievable life, and I have to say again, it's because of America, and because I recognized very early on, there is no such thing as a self-made man. No such thing. Because so many people say and write stories about me and say, Schwarzenegger is the perfect example of a self-made man. And I said, no, I'm the opposite. I am the product of a lot of help. My parents helped me when I grew up. the teachers helped me, the coaches helped me. Without my training partners that I've had in bodybuilding, I would have been nothing. Without Joe Reeder, the publisher of the muscle magazines, bringing me to America, I would have been nothing. Without Reg Park inspiring me and bringing me down to South Africa and training with me, I would have been nothing. Without the 5.5, 6 million people that voted for me to become governor of California, how can I become governor by myself? How can I be a self-made man? I mean, it's absurd. There is no such thing as a self-made man. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because this is the reason why you have to give back. Because you are not you today because by yourself. There are people that helped you. And now is the time for you to give back. Doesn't matter if you're in America, or if you're in Austria, or if you're in Russia, or if you're in China, or if you're in Canada. Give back to the community will make you feel great. So now, with that, I'm going to sit over there with our moderator that is going to come out and ask me some questions. So thank you very much for listening.
So, Governor, 4,000 of your closest friends here today submitted some questions. So we're going to be here for a while. Is that okay? All right, perfect. So Christoph Rizik, where's Christoph? Can you please stand up? Christoph, stand up. Hi, Christoph. So this is your question for the governor. What is it that has sustained your life and your lust for life and achievements of giving back for all these years? And how can we foster that in our lives?
Well, I think, as I said earlier, we've covered that, which is that what helped me get to where I am today is simply because of having always had a vision and always being able to recognize that it is hard work and that we should not listen to the naysayers. And my formula, as I said, and that we have to give back. And there's, of course, other very important rules, like, for instance, to think big, because too many people think small. This is a very important one here. Too many people think small. When they set a goal, they set a small goal. But let me tell you something, it's just as easy to get to the big goal. I never ever said to myself, I want to be just a bodybuilding champion. I said, I want to become the greatest bodybuilder of all time. That was my goal. I wanted to be the most muscular, the most defined, with the best posing routine, the most symmetrical body, all of those things. And the same thing was with movies. I didn't want to just be an actor. I wanted to be a leading man, but I wanted to do big movies where I have above the title credit, and movies that make a lot of money, and where I become the highest paid entertainer and beat all the rest of the guys. So that was my goal, was always to go much beyond. The same as with governor, like I said earlier, it's not just to go and say, I want to get into politics, maybe I should start running as mayor or anything like that. No. I say, I want to run for governor of the greatest state in the union. So it's just always, going as high as you can. Believe me, if I could have run according to the American Constitution for president, you would have seen me out there in 2016 already, running for president of the United States. But I'm not allowed to run because I was foreign born. I was not born on American soil or whatever area was occupied by America, whatever the details say. But I mean, the bottom line is I was born in Austria. And of course I checked out if the Americans occupied our city. Because maybe there's a little twist there, but it was the British that occupied our area of Austria. And the Russians occupied the east, the British the south, the French the west, and the northern part was by the Americans. So I checked all that out. I said, maybe there's something to get in there. But anyway, so I always was shooting for the top, and I think this is why I recommend it for you also to never ever think just small, but to just go all out. Have a great vision, believe in yourself. That is the important thing, and then don't ever think that when you set a goal and you say there is a plan P, a plan B doesn't happen. As soon as you start going to plan B, if the plan A doesn't work, that means that you're already kind of like planning for failure. You see, now it's very dangerous because you now have the outside doubters.
that are saying that you know and it's impossible and you won't be able to do it. So that's one force to reckon with. But now if there's enemies within you, and you start doubting, and you start saying, I'm going to go for plan B, plan A doesn't work, that means that you're already planning on failure. And that does not work. No weightlifter has ever gone to the bar and tried to lift the most weight by thinking, well, and if this doesn't work out, I'm going to go for the lighter weight. There's no one that would have lifted a world record with that kind of a mentality, that I can guarantee you. So it doesn't matter, and the reason why people are thinking small sometimes is because they're afraid to fail. You're afraid to fail, oh poor baby, I failed here. I mean, look at what those guys go through in America right now, that they're running for president. It is like the ultimate humiliation when you lose, not to me, but I mean for them, because they're exposed to the world. Like Bloomberg is a guy that is worth $60 billion some dollars. He has exposed himself. But that's great. He had the balls to do it. And the people that have been running there and now giving up the presidential run, they had the guts to do it. And that is what is so important, is that we go in there, we set our goals high, we go for it, and you will find out if it works, it works, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. How far can you fall? Look how low. You go down, you fall to the ground. Now who is going to stay down is the loser. But the winner is always going to get up. The winner is going to get up and is going to plow forward and plow forward. And as you can see, I learned most of my lessons in sports. I mean, think about a basketball player. Have you ever seen a basketball player that shows that scores in every shot? Do you know how many shots they try and they miss and they fail until they get one shot in? And the same is with hockey. How many times do they attack that goal? I mean, think about it. So are they all failures? No. That's the way it is in life. You just got to go for it, and you got to take the risks, and you got to say to yourself, okay, if I fail, then I get up again and I continue on. I failed, I lost bodybuilding competitions, I lost weightlifting competitions, I lost powerlifting competitions. I had movies that go right into the toilet that never been opened up. And all this kind of stuff. We all had personal failures, business failures, career failures. Everyone has that. But don't be afraid to fail. That is the important thing. So those are kind of the basic rules that you have to apply in order to be successful.
Thank you, Christoph. Next question is from Jason Carriage. Jason, where are you, my friend? There's Jason. Hi, Jason. His question is, at what point in your success did it become time to start helping others? What steps did you take to do so?
Again, we addressed it earlier. It was 1977. I remember exactly when I got this letter from the University of Wisconsin. And I went up there and I found such great joy working with the Special Olympians. And the funny thing about it was, literally like 2 months later, I go to an event, which was the Kennedy tennis tournament, the Bobby Kennedy tennis tournament, to raise money. And I went there as a celebrity. I was invited by the Kennedy family. I went there and that's where I met my wife. And her mother started Special Olympics. Maria's mother started Special Olympics. So Eunice Kennedy Shriver started Special Olympics. So you can imagine that when I met her and I started talking about Special Olympics, it was like, wow, this is really fantastic. Here's the woman that actually started it. And so this whole thing, there was like one of the typical mathematical kind of things where 1 and 1 became 3. And so, we worked together and we really built, like I said, the weightlifting and powerlifting in Special Olympics all over the world. And one of the great moments was when we went to South Africa, which was the place where I won Mr. Olympia, the last Mr. Olympia title in 1975. And well, the one before last actually, because then I came back in 1980 and won again. But I mean, We were down there and we promoted the Special Olympics with Nelson Mandela. And that was another one of those great experiences, because he felt that so many of the Special Olympians, so many of the people with the intellectually challenged, going through tremendous prejudice. And he can relate to that because that's what he went through in South Africa for many, many years, because he was in jail for 27 years and then eventually became president. So in any case, it was really wonderful experience to promote Special Olympics and to really make it a worldwide kind of a phenomenon.
Thank you. Our next question is from Ken Nickel. Ken, where are you, Ken? There's Ken. Hi, Ken. Ken's question is this. How did you like your time as governor, and would you run for president if you were allowed?
Well, I already answered that.
Yeah.
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. And my time as governor was, as I said, precious. Because no matter how much you know, but there's so much to learn. I mean, it is amazing. You sit there at 9 o'clock in the morning of your first meeting. Law enforcement will come in and will tell you the things that they need. And now you learn about law enforcement and the challenges that they face every day and why they needed help and orders. At 10 o'clock, the nurses union will come in and tell me of the challenges that the nurses face. Lifting patients that weigh 200-300 pounds. How the women lift this patient from this bed to this bed, and all of those kind of things, and how they need more nurses and more staffing and all that stuff. Then the next meeting is for an hour about education. How do we get more funding for education? How do we go and balance it between education for our minorities to a school like in Beverly Hills? How do we get the same amount of money to minorities, the same amount of quality teachers? And you sit there and you say, oh my God, this is like, I never even thought about this. You know, then the next round comes in, there comes the prison guards. And they talk about their challenges. And this goes on all day long. And so, even though you're the one that is trying with your team to solve those problems, but in the meantime, you're also learning. So this is when you know how they always say that the smarter you get, the more you realize how dumb you are. But it is a fact. It is amazing when you sit and you say, oh man, I didn't know this, I didn't know this, I didn't know this. It's just amazing of how many things there are that we don't know about, and that is so interesting to learn about all of these different subjects. So to me, it was like, I would never forget some of those meetings. I would never forget some of the major problems, and I would never forget when I got a phone call one night and they said, Governor, we have 528 fires in California. And I said, oh my God, 528 fires, how do we deal with that? And then you wake up in the morning and they tell you, Governor, it went to 2012 fires in California. And now you run around all over and try to send your resources all over the place. And you go to San Diego, where you have just evacuated 40,000 people. And now there's people coming to the Qualcomm Stadium in San Diego. And now you have to deal with, what do you need there? We need water. The pizza was the obvious. All the pizza deliveries, they brought pizzas. But what was not obvious was to have their diapers. So I learned something. I said, you know, you better be ready when you have like 40,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 people evacuated and you bring them to the stadium, you better have diapers because they're gonna bring babies. And you gotta have dog food. And you gotta be ready for cats and for all kinds of things. So this is the kind of things that you learn. I mean, I went to the place where they had, because the senior citizen home burned down, so they evacuated these 1,000 people from the senior citizen home, and they brought them to a place a hall like this, where there was lying on the floor with cots and mattresses. And I went and I said, something told me, I said, I should go there. I got to go there, just in case something falls through the cracks. And so I go there to this center. And I walk around, as I walk around, a male nurse comes up to me and he says, Governor, I found a patient that needs dialysis. So now I said, well, can you call the local hospital? Call the local hospital and say, well, we cannot accept any patient. We're booked. So then I said, well, let's find out from this 1,000 people if there's anyone else that needs dialysis. We found out there was 7 people, because they were old people, anywhere between 75 and 95 or 100. So these people needed dialysis. So we made now calls. I was lucky that I was there. And we finally found at a military base, at Camp Pendleton, we found a hall that they could go and fix it up quickly for dialysis machines in there. But now we had no ambulances to transport the patients. So now you had to get ambulances from 80 miles away because all the ambulances were taken. So this is the kind of things that happen in an emergency. That's why I always tell people with the coronavirus and with all this, it's always important to prepare and to run kind of exercise emergency kind of rounds. Because eventually you will realize the things where you fall short and then you can improve on that. And when I saw that happening in California, I realized that we have to have every year 2 or 3 emergency runs, so try runs, where we can really go and see what works and what doesn't work. How many hospital beds are available in hospitals? How quickly can a hospital erect another structure there and do a kind of an improvisational kind of a hospital where they can give emergency care and all this kind of stuff. So this is kind of priceless stuff that you learn on the job, and it is like, you know, eventually I'm going to write a book about all this stuff.
I got a copy. All right, Simon Dovey. Simon? Hi, Simon. Stand up, Simon, so Mr. Governor can see you. You said you always had a vision for your future. Was there any time you didn't know what the next step was, and how did you overcome it?
And there was never a time where I did not know where I was going. And I think this is the reason why you always see me pretty much as a happy camper. Because I'm really, as I said, I think it's the secret to success is to know where you're going, because then you're excited about it, even though this may be a goal, like for instance, a medical student. He maybe chooses at the age of 18, or she chooses at the age of 18 that she's going to become a doctor. But then takes, sometimes you want to be in the surgery room, takes to the age of 32, 34. So you're 18. So it's like 15 years out, 16 years out. So it's wonderful when you have that long-term goal, and then you know each science class that you take, each chemistry class you take, each math class you take, each class you take from now on is to get to that goal, and for you see yourself in that operating room, operating on patients. So I mean, I think that it is so important to be clear of what you want to do, and you got to be in touch with yourself. There's so many people that don't know what they want to do. So just going out and working is not going to cover you. You've got to go and spend the time, get away from the machines, get away from the iPads and from the iPhones and from the television and from everything, and just take time to think and to really get deep down inside and to find your passion and to find your goal. And this is what helped me so much when I was a kid, that it was so quiet. It was out in the countryside. There was no distraction at all. There was no phones there. We didn't have a house phone or anything like that. We had no running water. We had no television. We had nothing, right? So it was helpful because you could really kind of do some soul searching and search for what is inside you and what is what drives you, what would motivate you. And so I think that is the key thing for you to know. I never was kind of lost for where I'm going to go next. I was very clear about it in my movie career, I wanted to go, very clear about my charitable kind of side where I wanted to go, and very clear about my political career, and all of those things. So it was fun for me to do that. And even today, I'm not anymore in politics, and I'm doing maybe one movie a year. But I'm using my time now because I'm so excited about the Schwarzenegger Institute at USC, at the University of Southern California. I mean, it's like a fantastic institute, and we really deal with public policy that has to do with healthcare issues, education issues, environmental issues, which is very important, a passion of mine, and infrastructure issues, and all of this school, after-school programs, homelessness. We just had a big symposium about homelessness at the university and all this kind of stuff. So this is my new kind of a thing, because I think that more and more we need to go and heal the world from the environmental damages that are being created, the amount of people that are homeless in some of those cities. How do we find solutions for that? So I feel like politicians fall short a lot of times in those things. And so when you have an institute where then you can bring Democrats and Republicans together, it's kind of a neutral ground, and you debate the issues, and then you go and have the media participate in this whole thing and really drive the agenda forward. There's a whole new spirit now in California since our event about homelessness, about solving the problem of the homeless crisis that we have in California. And so this is where my life is, that's where I see the vision today. And especially when it comes to the environmental issues.
We have a question from Julia Ha. Where's Julia? Julia, can you stand up? Where is she? Hi, Julia. I love this question. There's Julia over there. Governor.
That's you.
Who is your number one inspiration and why? Number one.
I cannot give you a number one, but I can give you a few. When I began with bodybuilding, it was Reg Park. He was like the Hercules. He was the 3-time Mr. Universe. He gave me full inspiration. Then all of my energy went into there and to visualize him and to see myself like him. But then later on, as time went on, there was other people like Muhammad Ali. I was very fortunate to become very good friends with Muhammad Ali, and I admired him because he was this extraordinary fighter, and he had a wonderful personality. But when I got to know him, I saw that he was one of the most generous people that I've ever met. I mean, that guy who walks through the airport and he will hand out $100 bills to people that will be begging in the airport. I mean, this is the kind of a guy he was. He always was giving, never cared about being rich himself. And there was a lot of guys hanging around him, obviously, that were sucking his money out of him. But the bottom line is he was always very, very generous. Great personality, very giving guy, very talented guy. So he was one of those great examples for me and heroes that I want to be like him. As if when I have the opportunity, I will give back just the way he does. Then later on, it became Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was one of my heroes because he was the governor of California when I came to California in 1968. And he was one of those guys that even though he was sometimes, when he talked, like a hardcore Republican, but he wasn't. You know, he was defending a gay teacher so she could keep her job. He was out there creating the Air Resources Board in California, which is the most important part of California for environmental work. So it is easy for politicians to say, we're going to roll back our greenhouse gases by 25%. But then who is going to do it? So in California, Reagan set up the Air Resources Board to do it. So when we say in 2006 we're going to reduce our greenhouse gases by 25% and we're going to go create 50% of renewable energy, it was the Air Resources Board that actually followed through and did it. We talked about it earlier, there's no such thing as a self-made man, remember? Yeah, so the same is in politics. You need those agencies. And so Ronald Reagan created that, the Air Resources Board, because he hated smog. He didn't look at it as a Republican issue and say, oh my God, Republicans don't go there, they're in the oil companies. No, he said, you're going to create the resources, but we're going to get rid of the smog. So those are the kind of things that he was, then when he became president, of course, he was a master communicator. There were so many other things that I really admired of him, the way he muscled the Russians to, kind of like to a peace treaty, and then eventually the wall came down in Berlin, and communism failed, and all this stuff. So there was a lot attributed to Ronald Reagan's kind of policies and his strength, the strength of communication. So he was one of the Nelson Mandela. What a great hero. Here's a guy that was in jail for 27 years, put in jail by white people. And then when he got out, when he had the chance to go and get revenge, to pay them back, he said, no, stop it. We got to heal the country. If we want to be a great nation, blacks and whites need to work together. There's no time for paying back now. We got to get everyone together to make this a great nation. I mean, think about this, the forgiveness, the power of forgiveness. I'm saying power of forgiveness because my daughter just wrote a book about the power of forgiveness that is coming out very soon. But in any case, the bottom line is that he was one of those guys that I met, and I had wonderful conversations. I was with him in his prison cell at Robben Island in South Africa. That's where we lit a torch, the torch of hope. And I carried it out with him to the Special Olympians and gave it to the Special Olympians. It was one of the most memorable experiences. It was just wonderful. But so Nelson Mandela, he's unbelievable. What a great hero. So he was a great inspiration. President Gorbachev. I mean, think about it. You gotta just put yourself in his position. Here's a guy that was living in Russia, working his way up through the Russian political ladder. And then when he was president of Russia, he sees that it doesn't work. Communism doesn't work. And he dismantles it. He says we gotta get rid of it. I visited him several times. Whenever I go to Russia, I visit him because he's an institute there. And he's a wonderful, wonderful, thoughtful kind of a man, extremely smart and deep. And I just love talking to him. And he's just so smart. And he just, remember the famous line, when he says, why? Why now? Then he says, if not now, when? If not me, who? And it was this famous quote, and he was like so right, because there would have been no one else that could have done it. And so that to me is a hero, to have that kind of a guts, to grow up under communism, to climb the ladder, to be president, and then to say it doesn't work, and then to dismantle it. Hello? I mean, it's like, who would have the guts to do that? So this is what I'm talking about. So those are my heroes. That's why I say I can't kind of mention one. Even in my own family, my father-in-law, Sergeant Schreiber, and Eunice Schreiber, they were big idols of mine. I mean, it was just unbelievable to be with a family like that and to see that Sergeant Schreiber was working under the Johnson administration, Kennedy administration. He started the Job Corps, he started the Peace Corps worldwide, the legal aid to the poor, and all of those kind of programs, to help the underdog. So he was like a great mentor of mine, and where I learned about, about giving back and about how to always look out for the person that is the underdog or disadvantaged. And Eunice Schreiber, here she was, she had money, she had fame, she was the sister of President Kennedy, and she went out and traveled around the world and promoted Special Olympics, to create hope and justice for people that were intellectually handicapped and they had intellectual disabilities. And it's just amazing to see someone with that kind of a drive to be out there. So, when I look at inspiration, those are my inspirations. Because those were people that really did extraordinary stuff for the world. And I always felt like my calling was to do extraordinary things for the world and in this world. And this is why, I was saying earlier, I am on a climate and green energy future, a crusade now. Because I learned when I was governor that fossil fuels are killing us. See, we didn't know that for 100 years, so we had this industrial revolution because of fossil fuels. But then we realized that, oh my God, people are getting asthma, people are dying early because of fossil fuels. So, imagine that how we are all scared about the coronavirus, right? We're all worried. Every day we learn new things about how you wash your hands for 20 seconds, and how you use the soap, and how you use this soap, and how you wipe down your iPhone, because this is the biggest carrier of diseases, and how not to touch the toilet bowl, and how to do this, not to that, don't shake hands, bump the hand, and all this kind of stuff. Everyone has the same conversation. But look at the amount of people that have died from the coronavirus. And let's assume now it gets 10 times worse. How many people this is going to be? Right? So far 3,000 or so have died. There's 30,000 worldwide that are going to die. Let's assume for a second. But pollution is killing 7 million people a year. Ladies and gentlemen, pollution, fossil fuels is killing 7 million people a year. So that is what you should know. So when you know that, then you can actually do something about it. Government alone will never be able to do it, because they don't have the balls to do it. But you can do it. By choosing which car you're going to drive next and that you're going to buy next. Is it an electric car? Is it a hydrogen car? Or do you want to continue with the gasoline car? Or when you go out and leave your home, you want to keep the lights on and the air conditioner, or you want to walk out and turn everything off and have a smartphone, with the smart meter where everything gets regulated like that. Or you want to go and look at your clothes or your items, whatever you buy. Where is it from? Is it from far away where you have to ship it in? Because the 15 biggest ships, freight ships in the world, are bigger polluters than all of the cars combined in the whole world. So you are contributing, if you take something from Asia, or if you take something from Europe, you are contributing to the pollution. No one else. So you can reverse that. You can change that. Is it to help with it? I'm going to go and get things that are made in Canada or in America. This way we don't have to ship it with ships and all that stuff. And we're going to go and keep things this way. Maybe it costs a little bit more money, but you save the earth. So those are the kind of things that you can do, simple things that you can do. So I'm on that crusade. I even have the big environmental conference every year in Vienna, where we bring the whole world together. And where we talk about with leaders, prime ministers, and chancellors, and presidents, where we talk about how do we go and reduce it, because they have the COP25, COP24 and COP23, they have all these different world meetings where they come to decisions how much they're going to reduce greenhouse gases, and then none of them meet their goals. 70% of the countries fail their goals. So it's bogus. That's why I say that politicians sometimes don't have the guts that it takes to make the right decisions and to follow through with all the things. So anyway, so this is the kind of thing. So I have now environmental leaders that I admire and all this. So this is kind of the things that I am about today, but it's all exciting. It's all exciting because we have the power to make a difference. That is the important thing. Not only a difference on ourselves, but on other people and on the country.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. Planet Hollywood.